I'm now going to show you how to construct your skimmer compressor. To do that, first we need to take a look at our paper. As you can see, what's left over, I have one side that's got much more space than the other. Depending on your measurements and how you laid out removing your body, if you have the room, you can use the shorter side. I am only going to need about 3 3/4. So if I line up on my shorter side before I get to the fold or crease, as long as there's no lines that cross at the 3 3/4, which on this one it doesn't, I can use it. So the side that I want, if I line up over here, I can measure and mark 3 3/4 of an inch tall. So let's see if we can zoom in here for you. So I'm going to line up my paper right onto to 0 here. 3 3/4, which would be 3 whole inches plus 12 lines. And I'm going to double check my measurement because it looked like it was a little off. A smidge. Now I want to go all the way to the right side of my paper and measure down 3 3/4. We won't be removing that much material, but I need a reference point on the other edge of the paper so that I can make sure that my square, or my rectangle, is square, I should say. So there's my line parallel to the long edge. Now, just like I did before for the body of the skimmer, I'm now going to measure over 3 inches. Okay, just write down my line like I did for the body. So I'm going to measure down 3 inches. Go to this top edge, measure over 3 inches. Tick mark, and then join the two together. And I should have 3 inches by 3 3/4. I can always double check my measurements. Looks like 3/4 to me. And looks like maybe a 1/16 off there. But otherwise not too bad. And we're spot on both of those. So a little off on this corner. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes you miss your mark just by a hair. Not a big deal as long as you're close. If you're too far out, though, what ends up happening is your square or box ends up becoming out of square. And if I were to be, say, 1/4 of an inch in either direction, that would be a problem. My compressor would not fit. So next thing we want to do is cut out our compressor. Take my time, line up my shears so I can get a good clean cut. Okay, so that is cut out. And it looks like I need to do a bit of trimming. So, one rectangle. Next, what we're going to do is we need to draw a line parallel this direction and this direction at this edge. So to do that, I'm going to need my ruler once again. I need to figure out which side's the 3-inch side, and I want that pointing towards me. So right here, this is my 3-inch side. I want that pointing towards me. I'm going to line up on the upper left-hand corner again, and I want to measure down 3/8. Now let me zoom in here because this is very worthwhile seeing depending on which ruler you use. If we zoom in here, what we're going to see is that I have a whole bunch of different markings on this ruler. Right here, these are 32nds and these are 16ths. On this machinist ruler, the 1st inch and the last inch at the end have 32nds. So it's very important that you're cautious when measuring small units that you don't goof up. To measure, sometimes I find it easier actually to line up on 1 as if it were 0. That way I have 1/16 to measure with. Otherwise, I'd have to be careful not to mark the wrong 32nd. Now I need to come down 3/8 on either side, so I'm going to carefully measure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 lines equals 3/8. I could also do that by going every 2 lines, which is 1/8. So it would be 1, 2, 1/8, 1, 2, 2/8, which reduces to a 1/4 of an inch, and then 1, 2, which is 3/8. I'll come to my other side, measure down my 3/8, make my mark. Now I just want to draw my line going across. Okay. And we're going to do the same thing for the other side, so I'm going to rotate my paper around, and I'm going to start on the upper left-hand corner here. And I want to come down my 6 lines, 2, 4, 6. Oops, I missed my mark here. 2, 4, 6, there we go. That's the one. That's the line I wanted. Line up on the other side, come down my 6 marks. Make my line, and now I can connect the 2. So there's my rectangle. Let me back up a little bit so you can see here. So here's my rectangle. I've gone 3/8 on this side, 3/8 on this side. If all's gone well, I should have a 3-inch square in the center. And it looks like I'm a smidge off. Maybe a 32nd or so on that side. And I'm about a 32nd right in between that 15/16 and that 3-inch mark. So that's pretty good as far as measurements go. Sometimes it has to deal with things like your pencil tip. As you notice, this pencil tip isn't very sharp, and sometimes that can throw your measurement abilities off. And the next thing I'm going to do, on one side I want to complete this action. So on the right hand side, I'm going to line up so that I have a whole inch at the top line, and I'm going to measure up 1/8. So to do that, I'm going to go up 2 lines, 1, 2, and I'm going to make my mark. I'm now going to come to my bottom, and I want to make sure I'm on a whole inch, measure down my 2 lines, and make a mark. And it's kind of important that your tick mark take you all the way to the edge. Because what's going to happen now, I have, as I've rotated this, I now have 2 tick marks that are an 1/8 inch away, and I need to take from here all the way to this opposite corner here. Same here. Here to here is where my line goes. So I will now line up on my point here, pencil on my point, and I'm going to tilt my ruler until I can see that other corner, and I'm going to draw my line off so I can get that taper. I'm going to do the same thing on this side, except it's going to be a little bit backwards because of where my hand is placed. So I'm going to get it lined up. Or I'll just rotate my page, make my life easier. Let's see, there we go. And we can draw that to the corner. So here's my rectangle all laid out for my compressor. Right here is that taper to the outer edge. Right here is to that taper to the outer edge. And then here and here are my fold lines. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut off my taper. So just to help you see where I'm going to do this, I'm actually going to just shade on the side that I want to cut. So right here, this portion is what's getting cut off. On this side, this portion. It's often easy to make a mistake and cut on the wrong portion of the line. I can now line up on my cut. And I can cut my taper off. I'll come to the other side. I'm going to go from the outside this time to in. Clear our scraps, and here is our compressor just about completed. The last step we have to do is fold it up and we'll be done. So to do that, I will measure mark, or I'm sorry, fold on my line. So I'm going to get it lined up here, right on a pencil mark, and we're going to fold it right up against the ruler. This gives us a good sharp corner. I'm going to flip it around and do the same thing yet again. And from there we have one skimmer compressor completed. It should have a little bit of a taper. It should be narrow on one side and a little bit wider on the other. Okay. And they should both be in the same direction.